As we all adjust to now the mandate requiring us to wear our masks in Hamilton County and other parts of Tennessee, no doubt you have experienced that feeling of talking to somebody and saying, "I'm sorry, what?" You can't quite always understand. So imagine how difficult that is for someone who has a difficult time hearing to begin with. Dr. Tiffany Ahlberg is with Ahlberg Audiology up in Cleveland, and she joins us this morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Julie.
I'm kind of working backwards here, but before you and I got on TV, you were sharing with me a type of mask that you kind of will at least mention to your patients when they come in, both for them and for those in the household. It has that clear opening so that you can see to read lips.
Yes, it does. It has a clear piece of vinyl that fits in the place over the lips so that if you are communicating with someone that really depends on visual clues, this allows you to still lip read while wearing that protective covering over your mouth. So it's very helpful.
The idea, I'm sure, is that if the hearing device that you use is working properly, the hope would be that you don't have that struggle as you're talking with people. But with COVID, for a lot of folks, has also brought some social isolation. That's a problem that you're seeing as well.
It is. Where people are quarantined, they're in houses, they're isolated at home. They have very limited communication and conversations. And I think that the realism of hearing loss is becoming more and more apparent to some people. It's very frustrating that when they are able to be with family members that they're not able to hear, if they are in a group and people are wearing masks, I mean, it's really hard. It's really difficult. I think all of us, people with normal hearing, people with hearing loss, are experiencing the struggle that a mask gives as far as communication. I know that we require a mask in our office, and I have a patient that was talking yesterday, and I think I asked him 3 different times to repeat what he said because I couldn't hear or understand. It's a muffle effect by having something over your mouth. So it contributes to hearing loss, definitely.
So for people who are struggling anyway, this is just adding insult to injury, if you will. So you're saying that perhaps their natural inclination would just be to withdraw even more from the conversation. But what does that do then in terms of other problems? I mean, does that lead to depression? Does it lead to dementia? I've heard that as well.
All of the above, yes. When people are unable to communicate, then they retreat back into a world by themselves, and they're not confident enough to try to communicate. If they miss something, a lot of times they don't want to ask someone to repeat, so they just kind of sit back and withdraw, and then that creates depression. The neural pathway between the ear and the brain is cut off whenever it's not stimulated on a regular basis, and that creates communication issues. So our ears may hear, but it's our brain that listens and decodes what we're hearing. And if we don't keep that active, then that communication, that being able to fill in the blanks with the sounds that we hear and make a word out of it diminishes over time. It reminds me of I don't know how many people out there have been to the Lost Sea, but there's a part of the tour when you go to the Lost Sea where they turn off all the lights and they say, "This is total darkness." Mm-hmm. And if you were in total darkness for a period of time, then you would start to lose your vision. And the same thing happens with our hearing. If we're not using it on a regular basis, then we might still be able to hear some sounds, but we lose the ability to make sense of those sounds.
So for some people, though, Tiffany, they live alone. And then COVID has made them even more alone. So are there just some things you can do at home? I mean, like, does listening to music work? Does watching television work?
Yeah, you want to listen to things that you're actively decoding, that you're actively listening to. So TV might work, but a better option would be an audiobook, something that you're deciphering as you're listening. There are lots of websites that offer what we call oral rehab, and you can go to those websites and they have listening kind of games that you can do to keep that pathway active and actually make it better over time. So we have people, for example, I have a student with me right now. She's an audiology student. She has a hearing loss. Her word understanding, and that's a test that we do in the office where we present words and we test a person's ability to understand those words. And if they repeat them correctly, then we give a percentage of their ability to understand associated with that test. And her word understanding started out at like 68%. She started doing some of these all rehab programs, and now her understanding has climbed to 96%.
Wow.
So yeah, it really works, and it shows how important it is to keep that pathway and to train that pathway.
Okay, a couple of minutes left. People do have different comfort levels when it comes to things with COVID. They either are afraid to come into the office, or perhaps they get sick and they don't want to expose anyone to whatever they potentially have. You're still utilizing telehealth?
We are, and we have in our software system, we have the ability to do HIPAA compliant meetings, sort of like Zoom, like everybody knows, to where we can do a face-to-face, kind of like we are now, Julie, with you being in Chattanooga, me being in Cleveland. And so we're able to do that with patients. But also, a lot of our hearing aid softwares, if someone has a cell phone or a smartphone, we're able to make remote adjustments so that I can make an adjustment. It'll, in real time, shoot it over to the person's phone. And then if the phone is connected to the hearing aids, we can program the hearing aids remotely like that. And we have been doing a lot of appointments with that capability.
All right, then let me give people the phone number, and that way if they're not already on the patient list there, if they're interested in heading your way, they'll know how to find you. She's in Cleveland on Ocoee Street. The phone number is 641-0956. Online, it's ahlbergaudiology.com, and every time we talk to her, she's just as sweet and kind, as caring as she appeared today, so she will be for you as well. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Julie.
We're back after this.